comments later on. The first known veterans were also Thiel students who were involved in the Spanish-American War in 1898. As war was declared in April and ended in August, the 4 men from Thiel who were involved lost no more than a semester of work. But we have had alumni in all the subsequent wars and conflicts. The sundial that so many of us remember outside of Rote Hall honors the 5 men who died while serving in the armed forces during World War I. A plaque in the Langenheim Library commemorates those who lost their lives while fighting in World War II. The Paul Bush Fitness Center and the David Brueggemann windows in the former Burgess Chapel honor 2 graduates who were killed during the Vietnam conflict. And a scholarship has been established by the family of Ryan Gloyer, a 2004 alumnus who died in Afghanistan. Since Veterans Day was last Friday, I wanted to call attention to 2 programs at Thiel involving those who have served our country during war and peace, and have the 2 men who are responsible for those programs share what they are doing. They've each been given about 15 minutes to present, and then we will open it up for questions. The first is Dr. David Buck, Professor of History. He's been at Thiel since 2005. Dr. Buck received his bachelor's degree from the University of Dayton, his Master of Arts degree from Slippery Rock University, and his Ph.D. from West Virginia University. Known for his outstanding work in the classroom, David was recognized as the Professor of the Year at the 2011 Founders Day celebration. His historical methods class has been involved in a project for the past several years that is cataloging the men and women who attended Thiel and have also served in the military. Dr. Buck?
Thank you, John. So yeah, this is sort of a little baby of mine, pet project. In my historical methods class, we ended up being next to the archives one time, and I talked to John about using it, and we did a 1-semester project on the buildings of Thiel. We did another 1-semester project on some faculty, and I was looking for another, in my mind, 1-semester project. And my wife works for the Veterans Administration as a therapist in Warren, Ohio. And I was like, well, let me ask John if there's information. He thinks there's enough to get us through a semester on veterans at Thiel. And he said, sure. And that was in the fall of 2017. Every semester plus a sabbatical, every fall semester plus my sabbatical has sort of been spent on this, plus another grant. So what we're trying to do is develop, first and foremost, a list of all Thiel alumni and faculty and staff who served in the military. We started that first semester with about 120 names, and we're sort of sporadic about how we looked at it. We've become more methodical, and we are over 750 names of Thiel alumni and employees who served in the military, as John was saying, since the Spanish-American War. The most there's over 300 of those people served during World War II, which would be expected. But what we're trying to do is gather as much information from the material we have in the archives, going through the Tillensians, the yearbook, the predecessor to the Bell alumni directories, what have you, to try and create a sort of as much as possible, a comprehensive list of who served, when they served, what branches they served in, and then how they were involved with Thiel. So, for example, this semester, the students have been focused on the 1950s. So they've been going through the 1950s newspapers, school newspapers, and yearbooks, looking for where our known veterans are listed in those, as well as if there are any other veterans that we haven't found yet are listed. So they've been developing a spreadsheet that will go into the overall database. Other groups will, next fall, they'll focus on the 60s. Other projects that we've done, we have gotten the dean back in World War II sent newsletters to all the alumni and students who had left to go serve in the war, And a lot of them wrote back. And this is how history works. I said this last Thursday. It's a great curse of history, is that when things are lost, they're lost, and you can't tell. We have envelopes from the soldiers, the men and women who wrote back to the dean about what was happening in their lives during they were stationed either at camps for training, they were stationed in the European theater, the Pacific theater, or elsewhere in the United States writing these letters. We don't have the letters. The letters were lost. All we have are the envelopes. So I had a group of students that spent their semester entering all those envelopes into a database, or a spreadsheet that we're moving to a database. And what can we tell from that? Well, we can tell who was stationed in Europe. We can tell changes in rank over time. We can tell what branches they were in, depending on what camps they were in. Some of them included their dog tag numbers on the return address from the letters. We can sort of tell where they were when. Like one we can follow from when he was initially in Camp Wheeler to when he moved to Europe by the dates and the return addresses. So, we don't get the juicy stuff about what their life was like or what they were trying to say, but we can at least start to see where some of our World War II veterans were. We also had the opportunity last year to work on a Council for Independent Colleges grant for the public humanities, and it was a project that we worked on with Mike Mason and the Reynolds VFW 7599. And in that project, we looked at Thiel during World War II with Reverend Hankey, who graduated in 32 and served from 42 to 46 in Europe, Africa, Italy, France, and Germany, as a chaplain who wrote hundreds of letters back to his wife. After the first mention of this project in the Bell, his family donated the original letters as well as a 2-volume transcription of the letters to the archive, so our students have access to them. So we wrote about that. There was also mention in the 40s newspapers of a pilot training program, which, while it was not directly related to the military, it trained civilian pilots for home use or for home service during the war. And then the other part, and this is where we brought in Mike Mason and the VFW and their connections, is we have started to develop a list of Mercer County veterans as well. And then we also were working on Camp Reynolds. Mike helped get us in contact with a gentleman named Art Williams, who has a lot of information about Camp Reynolds, which is only a few miles down the road from Thiel. And we had hoped there'd be a lot of connections. There are very few connections, it appears. Most of them dealing with helping out with USO programming at the Greenville Park. I know I'm a professor and I can talk forever. The next step in this is I've applied for some additional funding to develop an oral history class that would start trying to collect Thiel veteran oral histories, as well as Mercer County oral histories. Also, next week, we're submitting another CIC grant that's sort of a follow-up to the last project we did. And we're hoping to work with St. Paul's on that project to develop a list of, add to the list of Mercer County veterans through those that have been at St. Paul's over the years. And that's sort of where the project is right now. My encouragement is if you are a veteran or you know a veteran and there's any material, either copies of material, photographs that you'd be willing to donate to the Thiel archives, it would be helpful to our project. And my hope is on my next sabbatical is we can do a short history on Thiel through military service. And with that, I'll turn it back to John and I can answer questions either now or at the end of the program. Thank you. John, you're still muted.
I'm a techno peasant and I apologize for all this. Our next speaker is Mike Mason. Mike is the Assistant Director of IT Operations at Thiel, in addition to being the Veterans Liaison. A retired U.S. Army Sergeant First Class, he spent 21 years in the military. He was deployed to more than 40 countries in 35 states, including 4 combat tours in Afghanistan. Along with those tours, Mason worked at the National Military Command Center, NATO, the White House Communications Agency, and the Asymmetric Warfare Group. Mike has been at Thiel since 2014 and was recognized as an outstanding staff member at the 2018 Founders Day ceremony. His work as the Veterans Liaison is a testimony to his passion for military service and ensures that each veteran or enlisted person gets the most from his or her Thiel education. Mike, you want to talk about your program?
Well, thank you, John. So you kind of captured a lot there. First, before I get started, I want to thank Dr. Buck and his students. What they're doing, I'm not sure if they'll ever truly understand the importance. It's, capturing those World War II veterans stories. It's very powerful. He kind of said it, history can disappear if we don't have those opportunities, and just the work they're doing, I'm very passionate about it, and what little help I can provide, I'm glad to. So moving forward, I started at Thiel 2013, 2014 timeframe, and obviously my appreciation and 21 years in the military, become a senior leader. And as a senior leader, one of your jobs is just taking care of soldiers, and it become probably something that's such a strong passion for me that having the opportunity to do this at Thiel, I'll do it for hopefully the next 20, 30 years or whatever time I'm given to do that. It's one of those things, if you can find a job that you love doing, you're not truly working. And that's how I feel about the veterans program. Now, running the IT, that's a whole different story. So the military program at Thiel, we're constantly growing, evolving, everything we can do to help veterans and their experience at Thiel. And it doesn't just stop with the veteran, family members, parents, their dependents. Our focus is across the entire spectrum. Probably the biggest mile marker that we've achieved, there is a program called Military Friendly. And what it is, it's kind of like auditing platform that measures your veteran support success. And we achieved something pretty special last year. Out of 1,800 colleges and universities across the country that applied for a military friendly status, we ranked in the top 20%. And that goes to show it, and it doesn't just involve what I do for the veterans, but the campus as a whole, from the admissions process of recruiting to transitioning them onto campus, and then obviously their experience here at campus across every department and building. So that really just measures the entire campus's ability to show our support. We will continue to grow. Part of that military friendly process is not achieving something and then kind of maintaining that, is actually to every year to strengthen that support. So moving forward, not losing focus on veterans, but continuing to grow the program, we're also going to look at how we can support veteran dependents at a larger scale. And everybody here knows Thiel, and Thiel's a small campus, and we have limited resources. But at the same time, I have a tremendous amount of support from the community. John Hauser himself, I know if I call his number, he's going to answer and help. And anything that anyone else can do to support the program, my door is always open. And you can definitely find me. if as far as going any further, I mean, that pretty much encompasses what I get to do. I have an open door policy. The one thing I will tell you is I don't care how busy I am. I don't care what time of the day it is. If a veteran calls me, I will answer, drive to them, help them. Some of our success stories is really, if anybody knows anything about the VA it's a great organization, but it's also a very, very difficult organization to communicate with and deal with. As much as we can possibly take that struggle away from a student or their parent, applying, finding out what resources are available, it's a never-ending battle. It seems like every 4 to 6 months, policies are updated, changed. So you could have two like veterans that have done everything the same throughout the military, but one stayed in 3 months longer than the other. And there'll be a whole open door to that, second veteran. And really it's just keeping up with policies and procedures that the VA offers. Not only the VA, but local support organizations. I'm in constant communications with every veteran organization and probably the Tri-County region, ensuring that we are maintaining every available resource from food pantries to some additional financial support. And we have all the tools that we need to make things happen. And I always tell the veterans, I don't care if you serve 2 months or if you serve 20 years, you are a veteran. You signed a piece of paper, devoting, you're one of the top 1%. And that's how we roll at Thiel.
Mike, we also have some students who are you're working with who are not veterans yet. They're in active duty or in reserves or something. Can you talk about them?
Well, so the definition of a veteran is really anybody that is serving or has served. I mean, there's different. You can say combat veteran or retired veteran, but my definition as a veteran at Thiel is anybody that's actually made the commitment and they signed a piece of paper. And some of that is we have a couple of veterans that they actually went down to Pittsburgh. They signed up. They swore their oath to their country, and they're waiting to go to basic training. So there's all different variations of veterans at Thiel. We have a couple students that are in that phase of their the start of their career. And then we do have veterans that have served multiple years and they're using some of their post-military benefits. We currently have a veteran that took an absent from Thiel. He was deployed to Saudi Arabia and to Kuwait over the last 8 months. He will be returning this spring. One of the great things we did right before the holidays, right around Thanksgiving last year, I forget the weight, but I know it was very heavy. I want to say it was somewhere between 300 to 400 pounds worth of snacks and healthy type snacks that we sent to him. So that's another thing that, Thiel empowers us to do is not to support them while they're on campus, but, we actually, lifted his spirits when he was deployed overseas.
How many students are currently, how many veterans, now that you've explained what the classification is, how many of them are on campus?
So right now we're sitting on students, and you had to ask because I'm in transition with 2 right now.
You gave me 9 as my presentation.
So we have 9 physically on campus, 1 in transition. I have 3 that are deposited, 1 in the PA program, and then 2 that are actually have one of the 2 is a 65-year-old veteran that wants to continue his education. And so he's a local veteran that wants to use Thiel's campus's resources to just continue to improve his knowledge. And hoping that he'll be starting up this spring. So that's going to bring a whole new veteran onto campus.
I like it when you bring those young guys on campus.
I tell you, even though his age is there, his spark and attitude is as young as they get.
Great. Well, thank you both. Do we have questions from anyone on the call?
As people sort of think for questions, I want to ask if there are who the veterans are on the call. I have Chris Shinkman. I have you in my database. I have Dave Thomas in my database. I have Frank Kelly, and I hadn't gotten to see if James Frank or anybody else was. I'm sort of checking. Is there anybody else that's a veteran?
I think a number of these are alumni board members who happy to have on the call too.
Yeah.
Shauna, do you want to tell us what you're currently doing?
What I'm currently doing?
No, Shauna.
Oh, Sean.
Hi, that would be me. So my name's Shauna Gonzalez. It'll be transitioning to Wolf. If you get any emails from me later, you might see it change. I just recently got married, but I am class of 2004 from Thiel. And for the past 8 years, I actually am an employee of the VA hospital in Pittsburgh. For 2 years, the past 2 years until recently, I was a patient advocate within the VA hospital. I have worked in all aspects and areas around here, in our surgical departments, in the clinics. Most information came from being a patient advocate. And then in August, I transitioned over to our public affairs department. So I am the public affairs specialist here at VA Pittsburgh. For both of our Hines location and our University Drive location.
Great.
So Michael, when you were talking about any of those little roadblocks that you might have, just go ahead and email me. It's fine.
No, I appreciate that. And I mean, it's such a huge footprint, especially on the education, like the support side. It's just keeping up with all the policies and the changes and updates and all the variations of who qualifies for what. So
Yeah, they change literally every time we blink.
yes.
And we've got a new, I'm sure that you're probably familiar with it. We've got a new PACT Act that's coming out, that's being rolled out for all of our veterans, which is going to change a lot of things for a lot of benefits, and might not have anything to do with the school aspect of things, but that we get things sometimes, especially with being in public affairs, we'll get them on a Monday and they're like, okay, we're rolling it out on Tuesday. And I'm like, awesome, thank you so much. So it changes all the time. It's something new every day. But I mean, I have no problem being a liaison for you in that aspect of things, to keep you up to date on things. It really is. I mean, it's my job here to stay on top of the changes. So if any way I can help, absolutely just reach out.
No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Dave Thomas, as I remember, you taught at the War College?
I taught at the National Defense University.
Sorry.
I was the public affairs officer for the university and also ran a program to teach students some of the finer aspects of dealing with the news media. My career in the Navy was as a public affairs officer. So I spent 12 years at the National Defense University on the staff and then taught within one of its colleges.
Okay. Anyone else have questions for Mike or Dave? Class.
Mike, you mentioned any help we can give our veterans in the Thiel community. What kind of help can we do?
So, I mean, obviously there's always going to be some financial, needs, but veterans on campus, and as the term goes, everybody is a poor college student. So I'm looking at stuff like during the holidays, gas money, anything like those that will just kind of give them a little pick me up. We host luncheons and stuff like that. It is a tough group to corral and to get the whole entire group together. With our small windows of opportunity that we can do that throughout the year. So it is hard to kind of try to like have events where you're going to get max participation, but usually just like little tokens of appreciation. We got them custom Thiel College veteran t-shirts to recognize their service, and that is part of the military friendly program, is celebrating, recognizing veterans you have on campus. So I would say maybe like every year I'll probably come up with a different design, whether that's a shirt, a hoodie in the winter. So really it's just ways of reaching out. Now resources as far as connections, I do a lot of work like with career services. So it's not just about when they're on campus, but that really the entire experience. What can we do to help them outside of the college? I still keep in contact with some of my veterans that graduated 4 or 5 years ago. I still please, I tell them, put my name down as a letter reference, and I will literally kick doors down to help you. And so it's the full process, bringing them in, getting them through, and then supporting them, post Thiel.
I've been working with Dr. Buck's class for the whole time that he's been doing this for several years, and it's been fun to see the students doing research and finding out about alumni who are serving and or current students. And it's been an eye opener, I think, for them too, not only to see the numbers of people who were involved, especially in World War II, when we had so many students leave the college, go to serve, and then come back after serving and graduate in the late 40s and early 50s. It's been eye opener for me, and a lot of fun when I'm going through something and I find something about an alum who was in this service, and being able to send that over to Dr. Buck to share with his class. When you're on campus, if you have a chance to see the display of the alumni who have served by branch and by class year, it's really an impressive list, and constantly being updated. So we're glad to have that, and we're glad the work that both of you are doing for Thiel and for our veterans. And for all of you veterans who are on the call today, thank you again for your service. We greatly appreciate it. Anyone have any other questions that they have or comments?
While we're waiting, I'd like to throw out again, we've become much more methodical in our approach. We've done the 40s, we're doing the 50s, we'll be moving on to the 60s. We do have veterans from the 70s, 80s, 90s in this entry on our list as well. We just haven't gone through all the newspapers and materials to try and get that totally up to date. So if you know of a veteran, alumni from Thiel, feel free to send me an email with any information. We are also trying to develop a contact list. COVID sort of slowed down some of the outreach plans that we had. Like I said earlier, we are trying to get a list together for hopefully oral history project to tie into this, where we start doing interviews. That's still probably a year or so off. I'm working on there's paperwork, as you can imagine, releases that we have to have set up to allow us to do and then store the oral histories at Thiel. So we're working on that. So there's a lot of things going on in the background. So it might be another year out before we start that project, but that's also happening. So drop myself or David or John a line if you know of a name, because I know there's lots of names still not on my list yet. But I'm trying to work through it as quickly as my classes allow.
And it's very easy to get in touch with us. It's our first initial and last name @thiel.edu. So email us day or night. We will not respond at night probably, but we will respond as soon as we can. But thanks again for your interest today. And thanks again to David and Mike for your efforts and for presenting today. Turn it back over to Dave Hummel. Any announcements from the alumni office?
Homecoming, September 29th through October the 1st. December grads are celebrating this Thursday evening. Wish them well. There's about 24 of them. That's the biggest updates I've got from the alumni office, and glad to see each and every one of you here. And have a great week.
Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you.